Hello guys, and welcome to a new Star Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a 4 versus 4 on Shchedrin, and I'm going to be playing with the 25th Hadosztaly with the balanced deployment type. As you can see, the game is already underway and we have a Ju-87 D5 WB-81B leading the charge, and it's going to be engaging a LA-7 there with its 12 MG81 gun pods, its two 20mm, and its turret briefly on the back. The LA-7 picking a fight with the wrong aircrafter head on, that's for sure. Trying to come round on it, managing to get some better damage. I've got the Heya, my recon aircraft, going to be able to finish it off with its two 12.7mm machine guns. Now this recon aircraft is very good because it has medium resilience and it is 540 km/h speed. Very nice indeed. In the town in the meantime, all of my infantry going to be deploying my Hegi Vedas, the Loves, the Shvaloza. I've got the Loves Tist in there, some Rohamachasok. Able to get the Ju-87 to hit the Mosquito briefly, and the Heya finishing it off. Unfortunately, the Ju-87 shot down by a double, since we are going to be up against the Corporal 6 Territorial, and they have those twin 25mm AA pieces, which are really deadly. So Ju-87 not really doing too great on its own, and honestly, those Ju-87s are kind of trash. But with the help of the Heya, managing to get a couple of kills. So not a complete waste. Anyway, Rohamachasok here, going to be moving up, engaging some Rekrutsi. Kararashe, going to get pinned down by the Shvalos in the meantime. And my Hegi Vedas and the Loves on the right hand side, going to be trying to push forwards and find some position here. The Rohamachasok finding the pinned Kararashe, taking them out. I need to get them across the road so they can engage the Pak 38. So how do we do that? We drop smoke, of course. Smoking the road, coming across. Unfortunately, another man down. Didn't quite make it. Sad times. But we did get one man across into that building. Hegi Vedas in the meantime going to be moving up. These are our mountain troops, which have Molotovs. Very nice indeed. 13-man Molotov squad. Don't mind if I do. They also have the Raider trait, which gives them very good stealth. Not that it's particularly useful in the situations that you use them in. But on the right hand side, Infanterist caught out on the road. Loves going to be able to gun them down. Rekrutsi trying to continue the push onto this flag. My Rohamachasok, the only thing standing in their way really there for the time being. He's bringing up his Rekrutsi. There's only 4 men though. And my absolute chad of a flamethrower man. Going to be able to kill them off. Now we have the artillery coming in. And that's going to start to deal some significant suppression against my infantry. Something that will certainly help his infantry engagements. Infanterist here against the Loves. The Loves 25G in this position are really good because they have 4 submachine guns. The submachine gun's not great, but it still has 1.6 damage and 75% accuracy. So the Infanterist, with their 60% accuracy, Oritza, is not going to be as good, and therefore gets taken out even though the Loves don't have as much veterancy. Rohamachasok there, getting shot at in the church briefly, but going to be making their way forwards to engage the Rekrutsi with the flamethrower. As soon as they go in the building, the flamer can do a decent chunk of damage. If you ever get shot at by flamers in this situation, make sure you jump out of the building before the flame lands, because you can actually avoid the damage somewhat, which is really nice. Anyway, since he decided to bring in mortars, I decided to bring in mortars, and honestly, the 25th Hadosztaly, it relies on these 120mm mortars quite significantly, I think. I don't think I've had a successful game where I haven't used these mortars, because 120mm mortars, like on their own, they're kind of bad because they have quite big dispersion, but once you get enough of them, They can seriously pin down a large area, and any direct hits are going to do a lot of damage. So I'm basically just going to be trying to pin all of his infantry as I continue to move forwards my Loves and Hegivadas. The Hegivadas there managed to get rid of the Pak-38, and I've now got a Zreni coming up, the Hungarian assault gun, to support my troops. So these can obviously fire down the roads in order to get really long range shots off, or I can maybe move them in at closer ranges to get the HE down, but I've just got to be careful of enemy AT, of course. But since Major Payne here is relying quite heavily on these Rekrutsi, I'm not too worried. But then you see things like Funatoria de Care, and you definitely are worried about getting too close. All the time, my Hay are still kind of hanging around at the back here. And this is going to be helping spotting things like these transport vehicles coming in, although that's most likely due to the Hegivadas on the road. Trying to get my Shvaloza into a good position to shoot this Pak-38. At the moment, things are just an absolute grind. It's pretty nuts. Now I've got the Loves commander coming in. And I've got the Loves Tist to give me another leader on the right-hand side. And what this is going to do, it's going to allow me to 2-vet all my Hegivadas, and also 3-vet the Loves on the right side there. I did try and surrender both those Rekrutsi, but wasn't quite close enough to do the job. Shvaloza, meanwhile, has got that 3-vet from the Loves Tist and is trying to kill off the Pak-38. On the right, Loves trying to get into good position to help against the Rekrutsi there as well. And there's Zreni, well, that's able to get a nice long-range shot through here onto the Pak-38. So yeah, I did bring up a couple of Zreni up onto this hill early on because I thought it would be a good way to engage enemy infantry should he get past the center, but since I've been kind of engaging him slightly further back, these don't really have line of sight or range to engage. So I've sent one of them forwards now for the right side of the town, and I've got this one covering the left road. The Loves finding their way on top of his leaders now. He hasn't retreated his leaders sufficiently, so I'm going to be able to do a decent amount of damage to them, and if I can take away leadership from any of his future units, that's going to be very handy indeed. And when it comes down to infantry grinds like this, veterancy is super important. Not only because it allows you to defeat the enemy infantry, but it also makes them more resilient to enemy artillery fire, which is also very prevalent in these situations. Like, he's been artying us the entire time, and now I've got the 120mm mortars that are going to be doing the same to him. And they already have been. It's definitely prevented some of his pushes so far, but at the moment we are holding on to both of these flags, which is great, and I've got more reinforcements on the way to continue the push. Got another 120mm mortar there actually, so we're up to 4 120mm mortars. And the Loves trying to get into the buildings on the edge, utilize their veterancy to get the better of these Rekrutsi. Taking out the leader was really important because it takes away all the 1-vet from the Rekrutsi here. But ultimately, too much firepower. I'm going to be shifting up more and more of my infantry. I've even got the Zreni that's going to be moving up on the right hand side, that's going to push through the gardens here and join me in the light cover so that it can fire onto the Rekrutsi without opening itself up to other shots. Artillery did come in. It ended up killing one of my transports before it unloaded, which wasn't great. But the Loves recovering, actually getting into a decent position here on against the Rekrutsi. Morty now coming in as well though, and these do have double MG34s, but with the Zreni assault gun to help us out, I'm going to be able to pin both of those down, and the Loves will be continuing to open up. I've also of course got the mortar fire continuously coming in onto this side, and the bad thing about using a Rekrutsi of course is that they fall back because they are disheartened units. So if you do come under a lot of artillery fire like this, you just constantly lose ground. The Morty of course will hold their ground, but in this situation he probably doesn't want to be there because they're under direct fire by a high veterancy Zreni, and that's chunking his squads significantly. The 120mm mortars still raining down, and will continue to do so. They're really, really useful for pinning and killing the enemy infantry here, and allowing me to continue my movement forwards. So now I've got supply trucks coming in to get these 120mm back online, and I'm going to be opting to bring in a couple of the T-34s, the Axis T-34s from the captured from the Soviets, and then we've got the Raba. Now this thing I wanted to make sure I used this game. This is an AA piece, and yeah, it's on a tractor that looks absolutely goddamn awful, but hey, style points, I guess. Unfortunately, I did lose my Zreni to the Reshitsa down the road, but the Zreni I think hit it just in time, and it also took some machine gun fire, so the Pack 40 that I have manages to finish it off with the 2 vet. Very good. So Hegivadas looking to help pin the Rekrutsi. And we'll end up finishing off the Pack 38 soon. There it goes. Hotchkiss trying to hold the line, but not really going to be able to do much. Hotchkiss, not too great. They got decent damage, but ultimately they don't have many men in the squad, so they kind of get overwhelmed and killed off very quickly by any form of like direct HE fire. Yeah, the T-34s here, the medium tanks, just kind of ready to support the infantry as we continue through here. The main thing, of course, is the 120mm mortar fire that's still coming down. Since we are into Phase B, Major Payne does have access to his T-34 85s. So the T-34 85 1944, they're going to be difficult for me to deal with. There's already really can't kill that unless it shows side armor. Because it does have a heat shell with 100mm of penetration, but the T-34 85 has 110mm of front armor, so it can't really reliably pin in the front. So I'm just going to have to like continuously sneak it forwards through the light cover and make sure that it doesn't get taken out. Anyway, Hotchkiss there. Going to be cleaned up by the T-34s. The Hegivadas getting absolutely smashed. I am going to try and pull them back, but they get stuck on the building. Unfortunately, nowhere for them to go. Well, the key here is to get my 120mm mortars to pin down the T-34s and also the Flak 36 potentially. If I pin down the Flak 36, I can engage it directly with the T-34, but I won't be able to do it from this angle whilst the T-34 85 1944s still exist. We're going to find a way to kill those. Like, I do have the Pack 40s, of course, so they can try and move forwards. But ultimately what I'm going to try and do is solidify the far left side of the town with the Loves. So more of those on their way. And my mortars continuously firing. We've only got 4 of them. Now this division can have a lot of 120mm mortars. But I've only got 4. And you can imagine how much more damage I could be doing with more of them. Yoshitsa here does manage to get 2 of my transports. One of them I feel like it shouldn't have killed my squad, but here's what it is, I suppose. On the left side, going to be going for the Yoshitsa. So Ju-87 coming in again. I think this thing is good for potentially pinning things down, but honestly I've never really had any decent success with it so far. The Ju-87 D5 with the 500kg bomb, much better. There's going to be a doubler here, and we got another one there. Double doubler. Doubler. Going to be able to take down that Ju-87 whilst the other one gets out alive. So that kind of gives us new targets for the AA, or for the artillery, sorry. As you can see, my mortar is going to be targeting that Hotchkiss doubler immediately. And there's Zreni. Oh, here it goes. HE-AT firing once. HE-AT firing twice. And yeah, just boinking off the front of the T-34-85. Finally managed to penetrate it. And we get the kill there. Now Major Payne bringing in the Kalashimoto. The Avtos. Avto's actually pretty scary here for my T-34, so I was kind of counting on my Hegivadas pinning them down there. T-34 is pretty close, so I'm going to be trying to get my low base forward so I can get a Panzerfaust on target. A bit of a mistake there from Major Payne. He was really committing to try and kill my T-34. And with the T-34s out of the way, opens up the Zrini to start firing again. We got direct fire from the Pak-40 onto the 88 as well. Oh, and look at the double Rabago. Oh yeah. Doesn't get better than that, boys. These things actually reload pretty fast, especially with like the 2 vet there. And you can see that we did take down an LA7, mainly due to the 36M 40M, or 40mm. This thing being a Hungarian AA piece that's very deadly, has AP shells even. Yeah, just check how quickly these fire. That Yak 9B coming in there with the clusters to try and deal with my Zrini or the T-34. Getting constantly fired at by the Rabas. And yeah, again, whilst the 40mm AA is the reason that dies, I'm pretty sure these do a decent chunk of damage as well. Just so funny. Like, they're so derpy. Awesome. Anyway. Reshitsa. Gonna come under fire from the low base. I'm gonna shift forwards my Pak-40 on the left to engage that. Now, Reshitsa, if both of these were to fire at each other initially, then without any suppression, then I think the Reshitsa would win 9 times out of 10. But because it's already pinned down, the Pak-40 is going to be able to do a decent amount of damage. I'm also shooting at it from the town here as well. We're able to finish that off, which is good because it kind of cleans up the left side for me. Lovis, pretty good at close range against these Kalashimoto. As long as the Kalashimoto can't fire their MG42s, the Lovis can get a decent amount of damage down. But the plan will be to get the Hegivadas close so that I can use the Molotovs and win that outright. More T-34s on the way. The 120mm mortars still firing constantly. Now looking for a little bit of counter battery and also the AA further back. I was also happy that this could potentially hit the road. That way we kind of stem a few of his reinforcements. Yeah, you can see the enemy units there firing. That shot doing the trick. Taking out the enemy mortars. Zrini still firing away. Doing plenty of damage to the infantry on the right hand side. Keeping them in that light cover there so this T-34-85 can't engage it. And we're slowly but surely making our way through here. Now the main problem that you'd have, generally speaking, in this town is enemy off-map. But thankfully, a lot of the new divisions that come out these days don't have off-map. So the Corporal 6 Territorial is a good example of that. And so I don't have to worry about it. And as long as our 120mm mortars remain dominant, we're okay. Now, of course, he could try and counter battery my 120mm mortars, or somebody else on their team could. But ultimately, like, not having to worry about off-map is pretty nice. And as long as I can keep the veterancy up on my infantry, we shouldn't have to worry too much about the infantry engagements either. Because we... well, so far I've been able to kind of win these infantry engagements through micro. Now, I did manage to trade the Zrini for a T-34, so relatively happy about that. And Hegivadas getting close range onto Avtos, going to be able to pin them down nice and easy. And now we got lower base engaging Kalashimoto. At this range, you can see like the Kalashimoto with 1 vet, easy pinning a 3 vet lower base. Because Solitherns are so much worse than MG42s. But from heavy cover, should be okay. I've also got the Pak 40 firing up the road, which is definitely helping out. And I'm going to be ordering the 120mm mortars in. Once again, more Loves on their way. IL-2 going to be bought by Major Pain. Not going to let that through. Rubbers firing away. Oh yeah. Get them, boys. This time around, not enough damage. IL-2 is pretty tanky. And I did just mention about veterancy, and I've got a couple of these Hegi Vadaz coming in. The leaders of the Hegi Vadaz. E34 looking to try and get a cheeky pen in here. It was very, very low chance of penetration, but I went for it anyway. Mainly because we were so far ahead at this point. But here comes another IL-2, hoping to stop that one's napalm strike as well. Just in time. The double rubber, really doing a great job. As I mentioned before, the rate of fire is really, really nice. And loads of veterancy for all of my troops now. The Hegi Vadaz waves pushing forwards, getting the better of the Kalarashimoto. I can almost get into a position to rush this down with Panzerfausts. Find the Kalarashimoto leader, that's good. Take that out. But with us having great success in the town, our opponent is going to surrender. The 2 Panther Gs on the way. In the late game we do get access to these Panther Gs, limited numbers, but definitely going to be useful for dealing with the T-34-85s. In this case, as the AI was controlling it, Panzerfaust does get the job done. And if I can get a couple of Panther Gs to the edge of the town now, use the light cover, the AI will really have no chance. And this Dubler, still scary for my infantry, so going to have to bring in the 120mm mortars on that. If we check elsewhere on the map, Spicy Rob doing a good job here, pushing up against Ashira. Grim Guy's done a good job pushing through the town here, and we have Martin up on the hill, who's managed to control that against Fire Scorpion. So we're 22-10 in flags. But I think this game has been a nice demonstration of some of the units that the 25th Hadosztaly get. Particularly these fantastic AA pieces that look absolutely glorious. We get to see the Zreni going to work, which is really good. And now we get the late game Panthers. We've got the Hegi Vadaz, the Loves. Like, I'm actually quite a big fan of this division. I think it's relatively well rounded, has some fun tools. Like if anything, it maybe struggles against like long range HE engagements. Like if I was in the position of Spicy Rub, I think I'd be having a relatively hard time because it's difficult to control the 2,000 meter range engagement there. Same deal with like where Grim Guy is, like until you get your Panthers on the field. When you have your Panthers on the field late game, you might be able to do something with them, but you've got to keep them well supported because you don't have large numbers. So just creating a wall of armor and machine guns. My infantry pushing deep, potentially grabbing this flag if I can. And yeah, we are pretty much done here. The Shchedrins, look at this, pushing through with the Stug. 352nd making waves, very nice. We do manage to get that flag in the end. That brings us up to a triple tick. And now, yeah, 2 of their enemy players had left the game. Of course, things are very, very over. 30 seconds left on the clock. No off-map really to delay me or hold me back. And that is one thing that would usually happen against some of the more conventional divisions, is you'd get off-mapped. If you were doing really well in the town and you had a massive infantry advantage, you'd end up having a massive infantry blob, and that is a huge off-map target. So you'd end up fighting over the center of the town for much longer. Valentine trying to have a go at my Su-85s. Now these are Axis Su-85s. Very cool. With 3 seconds left. And we'll leave it there. And a minor victory after 25 minutes and 34 seconds. And yeah, pretty quick battle. But I think showed off pretty much all of the units that the 25th Hadosztaly has to offer. And how you can kind of use them, I guess. 3,120 kills to 980 losses. I didn't really rate those Rubber AA when I first saw them, but their rate of fire surprised me with veterancy. So I kind of feel like there is potential for them to actually be good, especially against heavier bombers. But nice kills across the board. This is the Shchedrin that was supporting on the right side of the town. Got so many infantry kills for me because it was in such an awkward position for him. The Loves there getting a T-34 kill. That's probably after the AI took over. The 120 mils, whilst they didn't get like a crazy amount of kills, they were so important when it came to pinning and pushing back the Rekrutsi wave that he was pushing towards me. I really don't think Rekrutsi are worth it, unfortunately. Like, there are so many divisions that do disheartened infantry better, because the Rekrutsi actually cost like 20 points a piece or whatever. You might as well just be paying for Kalarashimoto. But yeah, in the end, a very successful game for me, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.